Hello. Barclays and the Department for International Trade have signed a 5-year partnership that will support UK businesses to grow and expand through international trade. It's our aspiration to help more businesses grow and succeed through trading overseas in order to secure their long-term prosperity. Now, we know how difficult and time-consuming it can be for SMEs to research the global marketplace. So rather than focus upon different international regions, we're working with the DIT and other partners to make it as easy as we can for time-poor business owners to access key export insight by creating a series of on-demand, sector-focused videos. By looking at key sectors, we can help businesses understand where the global markets are and therefore reduce the time that they need to spend looking for new opportunities. These videos will point businesses in the right direction and ensure that the support and insight is focused around their activity. My name is Paul Bowman from Barclays, and I'm delighted to introduce David Richards, the Deputy Director of the Financial, Professional and Business Services team at the Department for International Trade, and Dianne Davies, an International Trade Advisor, who are going to talk to us today about how you can take advantage of the global business services opportunities and share some practical advice for businesses involved in this sector. The views and opinions they express are their own and do not constitute advice from Barclays. Also, please note that each business is different and we recommend that you carry out your own independent research before you make any decisions that will impact your business. So David, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing your thoughts. Can you please tell us a little more about the Department of International Trade and its role in supporting businesses?
Well, Paul, thank you very much for having myself and Dianne with you today. So the Department for International Trade was formed in 2016 and it helps British companies to export around the world. It attracts investment into the UK and it leads on the UK's independent trade policy. Within that, there's a number of areas that we focus on. One is signing free trade agreements with countries around the world. Secondly is breaking down market access barriers. So there may be barriers for business services and professional services firms which stop them getting into markets. So we have teams of people who are looking how we can break that down to the benefit of British business. And then the area that we sit in is around trade promotion and how we help British businesses to go into market and win opportunities there. My particular team, we focus on financial, professional and business services. So we're working with professional and business services firms throughout the UK, whether they're an accounting firm, a law firm, or a consultancy firm. Many of them are SMEs, and we're working with them as to help them get into markets and win opportunities around the world. And we have teams of advisors both in our embassies and consulates in markets around the world and also on the ground here in the UK. And Dianne will talk to you shortly. She's based in the Northwest, helping Northwest companies to go into markets in these sectors. And back to you, Paul.
That's great. Thank you very much. So thinking of the business services sector, David, where do you see the opportunities for UK businesses looking to grow through exporting?
Well, business services is probably actually the largest area of our exports. And it is a sector which about 2/3 of employees are based outside of London and the Southeast. So it's very much a sort of UK-wide sector. It's also incredibly fast growing and an area that we have very strong competitive strength in. So the sort of two biggest markets that we particularly see are Europe and North America. And those are often the markets where professional business services firms take their first steps into export. But also in places like Asia Pacific and through the work we're doing with our free trade agreements, we're seeing a huge growth in services, and those areas with the biggest growth in services that we are seeing. So what we're looking to do is how we can capitalize on that and help businesses go into those markets. So if you take, for example, we recently signed a UK-Singapore digital economy agreement, which provides a framework for companies in the digital space. They may be a professional or business services using digital tools to go into those markets and make it easier and more efficient for them to do business there. But actually, what we are seeing, one of the things that's come out of the pandemic, is there's been a big shift to particularly UK SMEs selling their services through sort of digital and virtual means into market. So it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to visit market. We're seeing lots of small firms, whether they're a consulting firm or an accounting firm or a legal firm, winning business around the world and doing that from the UK and building their export business. So we see that as a big opportunity.
So thank you very much, David. So Dianne, coming to you, thank you very much for joining us today. Bearing in mind what Dave has just been talking about, what tends to be the best route to market in these regions?
Hi Paul, there's many routes to market, from remote delivery in the UK, delivery by existing staff in market, or actually setting up a business abroad and the complexities that may bring. The most appropriate will depend on the market and the service and the level of export experience that you have. I think market research is the key to identifying the market, the demand for the service, how it's delivered in that market, who your prospective customers are, and who your competitors are. Then you can determine the best way to approach the market. As David has said, services are predominantly delivered digitally now, and you need to back that up by being in market, knowing who your customers and clients are and building those relationships before you can deliver. In the professional and business services sector, there may be difficulties in doing that remotely to start with, and you really do need to go and visit in market and do that research. And then you can determine the best route to deliver.
So thank you for that. What are the key non-financial considerations that businesses should factor in when considering expanding internationally?
There's lots of considerations, but I think the key one is the ease of doing business. In the professional business services sector, there could be regulation that could prevent you from delivering it remotely, or do you have to have that representation or an office in market? Do you have the suitably qualified staff? Are their qualifications recognised in market, or do you have to have staff with the appropriate qualifications from that country? Think about your accreditations and benchmarking against international standards. And also, if you are sending staff abroad, think about the travel restrictions and the need for visas and work permits. With the services sector, you need to think about how to make your service real and tangible. Selling a solution rather than a product, and what's your competitive advantage in that market over others, and how do you showcase that? Your website should reflect this through case studies, testimonials, and recommendations to bring that credibility to your offering. You need to build relationships in market, and you need to visit and network, meet partners and clients, and build your profile, because it is buying from people. Whether your service is done digitally or not, you need to know who you're working with and have that credibility. The other thing to consider is the cultural and language differences. Even in English-speaking markets, you need to understand the local business style, meeting etiquette, and how decisions and businesses operated in that market. It's very different, even from state to state in the US, or even across countries in Europe.
That's great. Thank you, Dianne. And finally, how can the Department for International Trade help businesses identify partners with which to trade?
DIT can help businesses identify partners through a number of ways. A key part of my role is to help businesses with one-to-one support to develop a strategic approach to exporting and an action plan to enable international sales. We do this working with companies individually to identify what their key market is, who the prospective customers are, and then we can do introductions to our colleagues in country in those markets. They can provide trade advice, insight, and connections. Some of the offices also offer a bespoke market advisory service with further market insight and details of opportunities and connections to private sector specialists who can take the next steps with them. We also run a full calendar of inward and outward events and activities that we share with companies. We also run trade missions to specific shows or expos overseas that you are represented and supported by DIT along the way, with extra activities surrounding that show, which could be attendance at events at an embassy or actually one-to-one meet the buyer and meet professional contacts. Some of the shows that we've done recently, which encompass quite a few sectors that the professional business services sector cut across, is the offshore wind show in Amsterdam, the Big Five construction show in Dubai, and the Smart City Expo in Barcelona. The other source we have is the great.gov website that has practical advice on how to start exporting or increase exports, and has a full range of market guides, export opportunities, and events that are happening across the world, of which there are hundreds at any one time.
That's great, Dianne. Thank you very much for that. And David, thank you very much for your guidance and insights as well. It's great to see that there are so many opportunities for businesses, and to also hear of the support available to access these markets. We're also joined today by Arshad Dadabhoy, who is a trade and customs specialist at the Institute of Export and International Trade. Now, the Institute is a key supporter and facilitator of international trade within the UK and globally, and they provide practical guidance and advice for all sizes of business in all sectors. So, Arshad, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Perhaps you'd be kind enough to give us a brief overview as to what the Institute does and how it supports businesses who may be looking to trade internationally.
Sure, yes. So all our information is on the export.org.uk website. But in a nutshell, I'll go through all the services that we offer to help UK companies all up and down the country. So we've got a whole suite of courses that are very relevant to today's international landscape. Everything from introduction to exporting, advanced exporting, rules of origin, SPS, and much, much more. So if you're either a novice exporter or importer, or an experienced one who wants to upskill, we've got the course for you. Another thing that we do is compliance visits. If you want a health check, for example, to see how compliant you are, and in case you want to prepare for a HMRC audit, we can send an expert to you, and that can check all your processes and procedures and produce a report and advise you on how compliant you are. We do on-site training, so if you wanted some bespoke training produced, we can do that for you too. We do 2-hour consultancy slots online. So if you've got an issue or a problem that you want to resolve, we can meet one of our experts on a Teams call, and we will walk you and talk you through that process and try and help you resolve any of the issues. We also have a fantastic new program called Vega. So if you want an interim position filling, we can send one of our experts in that can help you, whether it's export licensing, compliance, general importing or exporting. We can send you in, we can send an expert in, and they can sit in your organization and help you until you find a more permanent solution. So that's just a number or a handful of products that we've got. But yes, visit the website and there's plenty there, export.org.uk.
That's great. And I certainly know from personal experience where we supported some of the lunch and learn videos during the course of last year, as well as also a lot of the Barclays colleagues have actually gone through the Institute's training and qualification process.
Absolutely. That lunchtime learning, we're first to market on many of the topics, Russian sanctions, Brexit, and we've attracted, well over 1,000 people on those popular lunchtime learning series. Yes.
So that's great. Plenty of ways there for businesses to access the Institute services, which is superb. We heard earlier from David and Dianne from the Department for International Trade about the global opportunities for the business services sector, especially in North America, Europe and Singapore, especially following the digital trade agreement. So what do you see as the biggest barriers perhaps for new exporters into these regions, and how can they overcome them?
It's a difficult question to ask. Services, a lot of companies think, oh, there's no export potential for services. That's a general perception that we've got when we go and talk to sort of companies. Oh, it's a service, there's no real potential there, and people have a product mindset. But increasingly, we've known in the last 30 years that services and British services are very, very popular, are very well respected and highly regarded in many parts of the world. You've touched on North America, but even the Gulf countries regard UK sort of consultancy services, professional sort of areas of expertise, highly regarded. I mean, a lot of the contracts in the Gulf countries, the Expo, the World Cup, a lot of the infrastructure projects, there may be consortiums going out to build them, but the consultancy side and the business services side and that professionalism all comes from England. In many cases, most of those contracts were awarded to British companies, and rightly so, because they're absolutely first class in what they offer. Now, in terms of the barriers, it's the passion and the know-how and where to go and where to find those opportunities, how to cultivate them, how to sort of bid in those processes, and how to get your company out there in terms of looking at those golden nuggets and what to go for. And that's where the key barrier, I would say, is. And it's all about getting back to basics, upskilling a team on how to do it, how to network, how to go out, where to go, where to find those opportunities, and looking at how to take advantage of them.
Great. I think that piece around the market access is really interesting, and also that element as well regarding people recognizing that services are a great way to export. So that's really helpful. Thinking though of the business services sector, are there any sectors of specific challenges such as either licensing, documentation, certification that businesses operating in these regions may actually find? And I suppose, what are then the most effective ways to manage and mitigate these?
I think the biggest challenge, really, I mean, you're right, there are all these issues around documentation and all the rest of it, but the biggest challenge for a British company is the fear of being uncompetitive. They themselves feel, oh, well, we're not going to be competitive. We're up against other countries. We're up against the Chinese, or we're up against the Indians. And they think, oh, look, the cost bases are lower, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a fear of being uncompetitive. But when you go out there, and when you present yourself, and you present your service, and you present your credentials, and you present your track record, and you present how your reputation, you're a British professional services provider, that in itself speaks volumes. It gives you that credibility. We have a lot of accreditations in the UK. We have a lot of respect in the world, and it's that fear is the biggest barrier. The documentation, the licensing, the consents, the IP, all that comes afterwards. But I would say the biggest barrier is overcoming that fear and getting out there to win those businesses, or even bid it. In the old adage, you need to be in it to win it, and we're not even in it in many cases. In terms of the regulatory environment, yes, there will be compliance issues, absolutely. Will there need to be certain requirements from a local perspective? Yes. And sometimes, particularly in the Gulf countries, there are local partners there who you can partner with, and the British Embassy and ourselves as well. We can help you in terms of identifying some of these partnerships, and they will then help you understand what the local landscape looks like in terms of compliance, regulations, eligibility in terms of putting some tenders or bids in, if that's what the sort of the way forward is.
Thank you. I think as well that piece from, sometimes we can get hung up in terms of, what the maybe qualifications are like, and what the requirements are and how they match across. So using people such as the Institute or the Department of International Trade to understand what those liabilities may be, and how we actually need to recognise them and then address them is absolutely key. But as well as that, also baking these kinds of things into the process and the planning at the outset will actually set up a business to be much more successful in the longer term. So that's really helpful.
Sure, and there are support organisations, Paul, like the DIT. They've got boots on the ground. They are representing you over there.
Absolutely. We were hearing about how they, the consulars, and the trade missions and the consular access is incredible, and it's something that we should never misunderstand, because they can be very, very helpful. But I suppose, moving on to my final question, really, Arshad, is that obviously, you get a lot, but what are the most frequent questions to the Institute asked by businesses looking to export to these particular reasons or in these particular sectors?
What is the regulatory environment like in the country that we are looking at exporting to? What paperwork and documentation might I need? Russia has been a big one for us, actually, because there's a lot of shipping services, insurance services, consultancy services, banking and financial services. And in light of all the developments and the pace of the speed of the acceleration in terms of this, how quick the sanctions had tightened up, we had a lot of questions on Russia, in terms of, am I still okay doing business? Oh, I've just sent a shipment, or, just invoiced for a consultancy I did 6 months ago. Am I going to get paid? How can I wire money to Russia? How can I carry on doing business in Russia? So these are some of we did have a spike in Russia related questions. This is six months ago, but generally it's all about another question that's quite popular. How do I treat tax? Do I need to is VAT applicable on service sort of contracts and so forth?
And I think that piece there about talking about Russia and the situation over in Ukraine, that's probably going to be one of the, not just Russia and Ukraine, but that's going to be one of the things that people need to be aware of, that these things change, the environment changes, making sure that they stay on top of what's important to them. Absolutely. And their business is really key, I think.
Yeah, let's take example of Iran. Iran was there was sanctions on Iran, and then they came off, and then the Americans put some more on. It's always it's a geopolitical changing landscape. Russia, China, Iran. It can be anywhere. It can, and it's a matter of really keeping your finger on the pulse. We have a news bulletin that goes out every day at the IOE, and which many people find useful.
That's great. Thank you very much. As you've said, there's a lot to consider when looking to export efficiently and safely. So thank you very much, Arshad, for that guidance. And having worked with the Institute on a number of initiatives before, I know that the team's expertise is valued by so many different types of clients and parties across the UK and the world as well. So and it's great that you're able to support our series of videos with the DIT.
Thank you, Paul.
And now over to Devinder Khosla, a relationship manager within our business services team, and someone who has a special understanding of this particular sector. Now, with significant experience in these markets, Devinder will be giving us an overview of some of the ways in which Barclays is supporting clients to grow and succeed. So first of all, hello, Devinder, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. How are you doing today?
Not bad, not bad. Now, before we start, the views and opinions that Devinder expresses are his own and do not constitute advice from Barclays. And also note that each business is different, and we do recommend that you carry out your own independent research before you make any decisions that will impact your business. It's great to have you here with us today, Devinder. Perhaps you could give us a quick overview of Barclays business and the team that you support.
Yeah, Paul, I work within the business services team. We provide everything from banking facilities to advice and client needs. The clients we look after are predominantly in the business services team, so our specialism is there in the London industries. And we help businesses to grow, to meet their needs where they express that. And often, face-to-face meetings with clients on a regular basis.
That's great. Thank you very much. And always good to understand where our colleagues are coming from. Now, we heard earlier from David Riches and Dianne Davies in the Department for International Trade, and they gave us some great insight into the global opportunities in this sector. Now, Europe and North America, together with APAC, or the Asia Pacific region, and the digital economy in Singapore sound really exciting. Whilst we've also seen a big shift into digital service provision by accountancy and legal services firms, plus consultants as a result of the pandemic. Arshad from the Institute of Export also made the point about the high esteem that UK professional businesses are held, especially within the Gulf region, for all kinds of infrastructure projects. So growth into these regions and markets can, however, present quite a number of challenges. So, Devinder, what do you believe the biggest hurdles are for our customers to international growth, and how can businesses overcome them?
Yeah, Paul, that's a great point. I think one of the biggest challenges that businesses will face is they feel that their business is not exportable. That's one of the biggest. They feel that their goods or services, especially in this field, the expertise that they hold in their type of business is not needed abroad. and that's absolutely wrong, because some of the expertise services we have in the UK is recognized worldwide. And this is where we try to bring that to light to a lot of our consultants that in the business services team we deal with. And we show them the value of their expertise. So, and not only within the business services, but we have specialist support through DIT and the Export Institute of Export, and their support has helped businesses demystify the process involved in exporting. And with that kind of support, at that micro level, I think businesses would really be wise to take that support on board if they're looking to export, most definitely. Many of the clients, Barclays clients that we've spoken to about, also feel that there are less identifiable aspects, such as setting their business up for export, things like ensuring that staff are trained in the process of administration. They find that that's a lot of hurdle as well. Are their staff ready to export? And how can they get their staff ready to export? So again, DIT, Institute of Export, support businesses with that process. And this is a huge step that will need to be addressed by a lot of these businesses going forward if they're looking to export. The other thing I think that businesses will need to bear in mind is ensuring that these processes that they learn are baked in to their daily process of running their own business. And that will obviously bring some financial challenges that they will also have to consider. There is a cost to this in training staff and putting the processes in place to deal with. They'll have to deal with another challenge, which is the type of different payment terms. So once they do start exporting, how are they going to get their money? Where are they going to get their money from? And to understand and the impact that will have potentially on their working capital. So, along with those, I think the route to market is important, that they understand a lot of the processes that may impact their businesses. There's also the important issue of payment security. So you're doing business, but you want to ensure that you're going to get paid. And how do you do that? And again, we're here to assist. The DIT and the Institute of Export are also here to assist in helping businesses work with new global partners in new global locations.
That's great. Thank you, Devinder. I think that piece, and it's consistent across all of the sectors that we've been dealing with, where businesses understand what is needed to be done to facilitate and accommodate international trade within their organisations, but making sure they're setting themselves up correctly to do that with the right resources, but ensuring that it fits within their business plan is so important. So turning actually to the matter of international trade and exporting, what are our clients telling us about the specific challenges that they're facing when trading overseas?
Oh, there's a number of challenges that our clients have been telling us about. Businesses want to learn more about the benefits of exporting and what impact it will have on their existing business. What sort of resources, what sort of growth strategy will there be in exporting? What are the additional costs, additional resources that they will have to bring on board other than what they've got presently, and ensuring that those can be met from either the current working capital or any other support that might be available. And again, the Institute of Export will step in and help businesses navigate these challenges in these areas that are going to be instrumental if they're looking to export their services. Also, businesses within the business services sector have also been aware that qualifications, also visa requirement for staff who are going to be potentially working overseas, do they fit the requirements within that particular country? Are the qualifications recognized? Will they be able to get visas for their staff to be able to go there, and how are they going to navigate those fields? Because a lot of the businesses within our sector do have face-to-face. They do want to meet their consultants, their professional advisors face-to-face, and really understand the projects and how those will be delivered. Other areas that the clients have been saying there have been challenges is their websites. Are they up to standard? Can they do them in different languages? Will the message come across as it would in English? So those are other areas that businesses will need to be getting upskilled on. The other areas are where do they go to find new markets? So yes, they're looking to export. Yes, they understand there's going to be some resources that will need to be put to those. But where are they going to find the new markets, and how? So here we heard some great things from David and Dianne of the DIT as to the potential for UK exporters in the business sector, service sector. The reputation, the professionalism, and the service of quality for UK business is internationally recognized and accepted. So that's likely to open some really big doors for some of our clients. And how they can get through those doors in the right way is very important. There's a number of other challenges and questions that our clients have been asking us about, and that's trading overseas and potential clients to do business and how they will verify those clients as well. So how do they know they're dealing with the right people? They're asking the right questions. Do they have a trade association or body that backs them up with their credentials? And once again, the DIT and the Institute of Export will help trade and offer guidance on these scenarios for businesses, help them navigate through that. On one last point, we are frequently asked about ease of sight and how that is a challenge. Again, I just touched on it. One of the biggest factors is finding customers, keeping customers, and making sure that the process of delivery for the service is smooth.
So thank you very much for that, Devinder. Really useful to understand some of those key challenges and that ease of insight and understanding how we can get more information about the people that we're dealing with is really interesting. And actually, it does actually bring me on to my final question. So I'm thinking here, how is Barclays helping our customers overcome some of these challenges and actually allowing them to maximise many of the opportunities that we've heard about?
Paul, there's a number of ways we can help businesses, and in particular with payment security. After all, being paid and delivering a quality service and product is what it's all about. There is a trade-off issue called the risk ladder, which dictates how much risk there may be in the transaction according to the payment terms. We help businesses understand what their risks may be when receiving payment upfront or on open account. And we can help explain the benefits of using documentary collections or letters of credit. And again, what their obligations will be according to those particular payment methods. For example, if you have entered into a letter of credit, don't settle the invoice any other way, or you may end up paying twice. Sure, you don't want to do that, right? So of course, we can help with all kinds of payments, acceptance methods, and foreign currency requirements. If a business has incomings and outgoings in the same currency, often using a currency account can help manage, reduce, or potentially extinguish foreign exchange risk, because they're accepting payment in that currency and they're making payments out in that currency. So it's a good method, and it's one that we do provide at Barclays for our clients. Now, we had a particular client in mind that was experiencing issues with regards to tranched payments. As the project will be running over 24 months, this may be affected by the volatility in foreign exchange market, resulting in potential losses. So we were able to discuss with them their payment method, their working capital cycle, and we were able to put in place a service that would bring certainty to them about their foreign exchange payment receipt. So that really helped them budget plan for that tranched payment and mitigate any fluctuations. So they were very grateful for that, because it's not one that they'd ever considered a way of doing it before.
It's good to hear. Well done.
And other areas where businesses may need support is, some businesses may need to provide a form of guarantee to a beneficiary. That is such as payment in advance or a HMRC bond for duty deferment. We can help businesses with these requirements as well, ensuring that they understand their responsibilities when using them. Now, Barclays has been very proud in supporting UK businesses with their international trade for many years, and we provide practical guidance and insight to micro issues for businesses, as well as broader macro aspects such as the end of the Brexit transition period, for example. So we've supported a lot of clients through the Brexit process and how to navigate that. So that's been of great help to many of our clients. We also have articles and on-demand content to help businesses understand how to operate overseas and the key issues that they will need to address, some of which may have been covered in this video. We do have also a team of colleagues who deal specifically with trading overseas, and they can also signpost businesses to further help and support. I think the thing I would most like to say is, just come and talk to us. We're here to help you. We're here to help you do cross-border business, trade abroad. Just ask us. We're here. We'll signpost you in the right directions.
That's great, Devinder. Thank you. And I think, as well as that message about come and talk to us, I think what I found really interesting as well was the fact that, you know, you gave us the example there of the customer that you'd supported. And actually, sometimes people don't know what they don't know. So having a contract over a long period of time, finding ways in which we could create certainty for customers, given the ever-changing environment that we're working with, it's really something that, you know, we really want to bring to the table and have more conversations. So thank you very much for that informative summary. Now, just a quick point from me. Letters of credit products are available to clients of Barclays Bank UK PLC through a referral to Barclays Bank PLC. Referred products will be owned and administered by Barclays Bank PLC, and a portion of the revenue generated from referred products may be shared with Barclays UK PLC. Alternative service providers in the market may offer similar products, and all credit and risk products are subject to an individual business's financial status, and of course, terms and conditions apply. Many thanks for your time today, Devinder. It's been great to hear how Barclays is supporting businesses within this sector. There are many challenges in international trade, but they are not insurmountable. And with the right guidance and support that you were talking about, UK businesses have the world to go at and a raft of great opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.